Today is Saturday, the 12th of April, 2025. And as always, we have the longest list of game prediction to share with you, always by this weekend, like today, Saturday. So be ready to have the best games to share them with you. And to those of you who are already members of either the Level 2 Pro plan or the Level 3 Master plan, you want to make sure to access the members only match prediction picks, which we have already shared to you as usual. Of course, the games are made up of match prediction for goals probability, corner kick events, straight win with huge odds to take your winning to the next height. So you want to make sure to check the members only section on the home tab. And to those of you who have not yet subscribed to become a member of the Level 2 Pro plan or the Level 3 Master plan to have access to these features based on our handpick event we share to members only with huge odds to take their winning to the next level, then you want to make sure to also join to become a member. To those of you who want to join, the link is below this video. So without wasting time, I'll just go directly to share with you the games we have for you today. I will not want to look at the events based on yesterday's games, for we registered wins and the win rate was amazing. In fact, this week as a whole, starting from Monday till today, Saturday, which we are revealing the game of today, we have been registering amazing win result, win rate very high. So congratulations to you all who have been following our picks. So today I will not share the events on yesterday's game, for this video is going to be very long. So I'll just go directly to the games we have to share with you today. So let's proceed. But before we proceed, I have this quick announcement to share with you. If you come here to the front page of our channel here, you will notice that we provide match prediction to members only. You can see on the home tab section, there are members only videos which we shared based on game event to our members only, based on corner kick games, goals probability, straight wins, and so on. And also, we also share top-notch match prediction tutorials which you can use to take your winning to the next height. For example, if you're a member of the Level 2 Pro plan, you also have access to our handpick event as well as top Level 2 Pro classes that will give you access to all these video tutorial in one place, like the live match corner kick strategy for you for members only, a simple trick to make consistent win, the match prediction strategy you have never seen before to take your winning to the next height, straight win and comeback strategy that will amaze you, the tactical straight win and 2.5 goal strategy for you, as well as 99% win rate strategy for members only. So once you become a member of the Level 2 Pro plan, you also have access to all of these match prediction tutorials in one place. The link is below this video, which can enable you to watch all of these videos in one place. But if you are a member of the Level 3 Master, you also have access to the Level 3 Master classes that will give you access to even more top-notch tutorial classes, like the excellent corner kick strategy we have reviewed, the top secret AI tool used for goals probability and straight win, as well as the corner kick strategy which we have revealed, revealing the top secret site we use to find corner kick games, 6 amazing AI tools we use which you can take advantage of it, the home and away win match prediction strategy step by step, and 2.5 goal strategy to beat the bookie and win even more. So these are some of the features you are going to have as Level 3 Master member, which will give you access to master classes to start taking your winning to the next height as a master. So that being said, since we have a very long list, let's look at the first game of our today's list. So looking at the first event, we are looking here at Italy in the Serie A. We are looking at the match between Inter against Cagliari. In this event, the performance of Inter recently in the match they have had this same year, most recent, have proved that the offensive trend is very good. You can see 2, 3, and 2 goals being scored in the recent event they have had with the amazing offense. That of Cagliari, on the other hand, is not as defensive as compared to that of the home, and the offensive trend is not very great. Looking at the stand comparison performance in terms of the form by the home and away, you're going to see that Inter have proved to be the best here. They sit on the first place, 5 games played recently at home, all the 5 lead, scoring 11 and conceding 5. That's a good offense and defense. But if we look at that of Cagliari, on the other hand, you're going to notice that they sit right here, almost on the 8th, that is on the 18th position, with a defensive line that is not very tight, and the score rate is not good. They have just had 1 goal scored for 5 games played, no wins registered at all. As a result, we want to look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, of course, we're looking at the home to be the upper hand to lead as one of the major picks, as well as at least the possibility of 1.5 goal to occur here in full time. Looking at the next year, we are looking at France in the Ligue 1, Monaco against Marseille for this event. Monaco, the home, have proved to be very offensive in the recent event they have had this same year, scoring 2, 3, 7. The offensive trend have proved to be very great, but if we look at that of Marseille, on the other hand, the defensive line is very weak, conceding huge number of goals in the recent event they've had. Looking at the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had by the form of the home and away, of course, the form of the home have proved that the stands a better chance. sitting here on the first place. They're the one toppling this table, sitting on the first. They've had 5 games recently at home, all the 5 leads, scoring 19 and conceding just 6. That's a very great offensive trend with all the 5 lead at home. If we look at that of its opponent, on the other hand, Marseille, of course, the proof that the defensive line, they sit right here in the 17th position. They've had 5 games at the way, just 1 lead, scoring 4 and conceding 11. Of course, that's a weak defensive line, and the high offensive strength of Monaco will want to take advantage of that weak defense of the way. As a result, we look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, of course, we look at the home Monaco to have the high offensive power to break the defense of the way to lead as one of the major pick, as well as at least the possibility of 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time is our major picks. Looking at the next, we looked at Australia in the NPL Victoria. In this case, we look at Avondale with Altona Magic. Avondale have proved to have a very great offensive strength, scoring 2, 3, 4. In recent event, they've had the offensive trend is really good. If we look at that of Altona Magic, on the other hand, defense is weak, conceding huge number of goals in recent event they've had. Comparing the strength performance in terms of the form of the home and away, of course, we're going to see that Avondale proved to have a very high offense. They've had 4 games recently at home, all the 4 lead, scoring 13, conceding 3. Great offense and defense, but that of its opponent, on the other hand, have proved that the defensive line and the offense is not that very great. They have not had any wins yet recently at the way. 4 matches played, no win, conceding 7 and scoring only 2. Of course, we look at Avondale to take that advantage, and as a result, we look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this event, we looked at the home Avondale to have the lead, as well as the possibility of at least 1.5 goals in full time for this particular gameplay as our major picks. Looking at the next here, we look at Scotland in the Premiership. We are looking at Celtic against Kilmarnock. Celtic recently have proved to score high number of goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, and 5 goals in recent event they've had by the recent game played. 3 goals as well. If you look at that of Kilmarnock, on the other hand, they concede very much, conceding 5, 1, and 3 in the recent game played also they have had. Looking at the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had by the home of form and away, the form of the home and away, Celtic have proved to sit on the 2nd place with a very high striking power. They've had 5 games recently at home, 4 wins, 1 loss, scoring 19 and conceding 4. That's a great offense and defense. But Kilmarnock, on the other hand, of course, the strength of Kilmarnock when they come at the way is not very great. They have a very weak defensive line, which is open. Looking at this, we therefore want to look at the fact that Celtic want to take advantage of this weak defense, and the fact that Kilmarnock have also had no wins registered at the way games. We look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this gameplay, of course, we look at Celtic to be the upper hand to lead as one of the major picks, but of course, goal probability is the next safest option, which we want to look at 1.5 goals in full time. In the next, we looked at Bolivar, that is in the Divisional Professional. Bolivar against Wilstermann. Bolivar, the home, have proved to be very offensive in the recent event they've had, of course, especially in the LFP itself, the TAV, where they score a huge number of goals, and also in the Cup, 3, 3, 5, and 3, and 5. The offensive strength have just proved are very amazing. Wilstermann, on the other hand, proved to concede with a very weak defensive line. Of course, they are not great in strength of defense. If we look at the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had by the form of the home and away, of course, the home team have proved to be very offensive. They have just started this tournament with just 1 game played. They have already scored 3, conceding 1, to show the strength of its offense, even in the recent game they have had at home. But if we look at that of the away, Wilstermann, on the other hand, of course, as we have seen that the defensive line is not good, even in this starting of this tournament, they have already considered 2 for 1 game played, telling us that the home still have the upper hand due to the great defense of the home they have recently had based on the recent gameplay. The offense is still good, and therefore we look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, of course, the home still stand a better chance to lead as one of the major picks, as well as at least the possibility of 1.5 going full time. In the next, we looked at Marta in the Challenge League. We look at Valletta against Marsa. For this event, Valletta have proved to be good and offensive, scoring 2, 1, and 3, and 2 in the recent gameplay they've had. The opponent, on the other hand, have proved that the defensive line is just very conceding with a weak defensive line. Of course, we looked at the home to take advantage of that, and looking at the stand performance comparison by the form of the home and away, of course, the home team have still proved that Valletta sits on the first place. They've had 5 games recently at home, all the 5 leads, scoring 12, conceding 3. That's a great offense and defense. But if we look at that of its opponent, on the other hand, the defensive line is not as great as that of the home. You can see that they've had 5 games recently, 2 wins, but the defensive line is not that tight. and the offense is at least average. Looking at this, therefore, we look at two major picks here in full time. For this gameplay, since both sides had an offense which, of course, is at least better, scoring goal probability, and the away defense is not very tight, we look at least the probability of high shots on and off target. Therefore, at least we expect the possibility of 1.5 goal here in full time. In the next here, we looked at Germany in the Oberliga Baden-Württemberg, Balingen against Villingen. In this event, Balingen have proved to score huge number of goals recently, 2, 5, and 2, and 4. As you can see, that of its opponent, Villingen, on the other hand, defensive line is very weak, conceding 3, 3, and 6 in each event. Of course, making sure that the home will also want to take advantage of that weak defense to try to score many goals. And looking at the form performance, you're going to see that the home, of course, Balingen have proved that they are good at scoring. They have had 5 games recently at home with 4 lead, scoring 3 and scoring 11 and conceding 3. Good offense and defense. But that of the way in terms of the recent event they've had have just proved that the defensive line is not very good. They have conceded up to 18 goals in just 5 game play to prove that it has a weak defense. As a result, we want to look at two major picks here in full time. For this gameplay, of course, the home have the upper hand to have more goals probability, and at all, the away also want to impress, resulting to shoot on and off target to be great. And since the defensive line of the away is not that very tight, we expect goal probability at least 1.5 goal in full time or 2 goals over. In the next, we looked at Turkey in the second league, that is red group. We look at Beyoglu Yeni against Nazillispor. In this event, the home have proved to be very offensive, scoring 3 goals in recent event, 1-1, and the offense have proved to be better, but that of the away have proved to concede very much with a very weak defensive lineup, as you can see based on the rating of the goal conceded rate. Based on the stance in terms of the recent event, they've had the performance of the home by the home game played have proved they sit here on the 7th position with an average goal score rate, which is at least good, but the defense is also not very tight. If you look also at that of the opponent in terms of the recent event they've had by the away game played, you're also going to see that the defensive line proved to be very weak. That is why I want to look at the probability of goals. They conceded 15 goals in just 5 game played. We therefore want to look at one major pick here in full time in terms of goal probability. For this event, we expect at least the possibility of 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next, we looked at Croatia in the HNL. We looked at Dynamo Zagreb against Osijek. For this event, Dynamo Zagreb, based on the recent event they have had, this same here proved to be very offensive, scoring 3-2 in the recent gameplay. They have had 3-3. That of its opponent, on the other hand, have proved that the defensive line is not very good. They concede very much number of goals, that is 4, 1, 2, and 3. Looking at the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had by the form, comparing the strength, the home Dynamo Zagreb have proved to be very offensive here. They've had 5 games at home recently with 4 wins and drawing 1, scoring 14 goals and conceding 4. That's a great offense and defense. But if we look at that of its opponent, on the other hand, the defensive line and offense is not as great as that of Dynamo. You can see they sit on the last position. They've had 5 games recently at away, 0 win. They have just scored 2 goals, conceding up to 14, giving an advantage for Dynamo Zagreb to take advantage of the weak defensive line of the away. And as a result, we want to look at two major picks here in full time. For this particular event, we look at the home Dynamo Zagreb to have the upper hand to lead as one of the major pick. And since the defensive line of the away is very weak, we also want to look at goal probability. At least 1.5 goal in full time or 2 goals over is the next pick for this particular event. Looking at the next, we looked at Poland in the Youth League, a match between Warta PU19 against Lech Poznan. Lech Poznan have proved to be very offensive, scoring 4 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals, and 6 goals. The offensive strength have been very amazing. If we look at that of Warta, on the other hand, the defensive line is very, very weak. They concede very huge number of goals, 4 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals in terms of the conceding strength. Looking at the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had by the form of the home and the away have proved that they sit on a better place. You can see here, they prove to be on the 4th position. They've had 5 games recently with 3 wins, scoring 14 and conceding 7. That's a high offensive trend, and defense is better. But if you look at that of the home in terms of the recent event they've had, you're going to notice that even though they're at home, but they do concede very much, conceding 12 goals and scoring just 4. They have not had any leads at home in recent event they've had. As a result, we want to look at two major picks here in full time. For this particular event, the performance of the home have proved that they concede very much, and we look at the away as our favorite to lead, as well as just the possibility of 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. Looking at the next, we looked at England in the Southern League Premier, that is Southern League Premier South. We look at Merthyr Town against Poole. This event, Merthyr have proved to be very good, scoring 3 goals, 2 goals, 5 goals, 2 goals in recent event. The offensive strength is very good. That of Poole, on the other hand, concede very much with a weak defensive line, and of course they are not very great in terms of defense. If you compare the strengths in terms of the form by the home and away, the home have proved to be very offensive in the recent game they've had, especially at home. They sit right here based on the position that stands a better choice. You can see they've had 5 games recently with 3 wins and 2 draws, sitting on the 3rd place. They've scored 13, conceding 6. That's a good offense. And looking at that of its opponent in terms of the away game played, they have proved that the defensive line is not very good. They have not had any wins yet for 5 games played, 0 wins, conceding up to 10 goals, giving an advantage of the home team. As a result, we want to look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, we look at the home team to have the upper hand, to lead as one of the major picks, and as well as the possibility of at least 1.5 goal in full time. Looking at the next, we looked at Singapore in the Premier League. We are looking at Lion City against DPMM. In this event, of course, the performance of the home in terms of the recent event have had proof that they are very offensive, scoring 2-4 in recent gameplay they have had. That of its opponent, on the other hand, is not a very offensive team, and the defense also is not very tight. Comparing the stand performance in terms of the recent event they've had for this tournament, of course, we are going to see that this tournament is the 30th round. And looking at the performance of the home in terms of the recent event they have played, the home have been very amazing. They sit on the 1st place. They've had 5 games recently at home, all the 5 wins, scoring 17 and conceding 3. That's a good offensive strength and defense. But if you look at that of its opponent in terms of the games they have recently had, they have proved that the defensive line is not very good. They've had up to 5 games at home, just 1 win, 2 draw and 2 losses. They have conceded 9 goals, scoring just 6. As a result, we look at the home to take advantage of that weak defense, and we look at 2 major picks here in full time. For this particular event, we look at the home to be the upper hand, to lead as one of the major picks, as well as at least the possibility of 1.5 goal to occur in this match in full time. And to those of you who want to have access to our top-notch hand prediction picks, which we have shared to members only in terms of goals probability, straight wins, and corner kick events, with a very huge odds to take your winning to the next height, then you want to make sure to subscribe to Level 2 membership package plan. That is Level 2 Pro membership package plan, or the Level 3 master plan, to have access to members only match prediction picks and high odds to take your winning to the next height. For those of you who want to join, the link is below this video description. You want to make sure to go there, navigate, and join as a member of the Level 2 Pro plan or Level 3 Master to also have access to members only videos and match prediction picks to start taking your winning to the next level. To those of you who want to join, the link is below this video description. Good luck and see you again in the next upload, and bye bye for now.